The waiting is hard. The waiting sometimes is like, this is going to be extreme, but like waiting for the electric chair sometimes, where really the real fighters out there, they know, they probably laugh and say, you're hitting on something there, Ted. Yeah, you're hitting on something. The young fighters need to understand that. The people out there that aren't going in the ring, but they love fighting, they need to understand that. Because whatever it is that you fight for, you might have your own little electric chair that you sometimes feel you're kind of waiting on, because the pressure of whatever it is you do, the doubt that comes involved with that pressure, feels like you're waiting on an electric chair. Whatever, going to court to be a lawyer, dealing with a classroom as a teacher, having to stand up to your boss and ask for whatever it might be, that's your electric chair. And that's how it can feel sometimes. Like you're waiting, for the executioner to call you. That's what separates a lot of people from having the physical abilities to do it, but not the mental abilities to do it, to deal with that waiting, to deal with what the imagination can bring. What that moment, knowing what you're facing in that ring, what that moment can do to you, thinking about it. So getting that under control, getting familiar with that. You're always going to be nervous. You're not nervous, you got a problem. You got a problem, because then you're not going to be ready. Nature won't have you at your best, where you're on your P's and Q's, where you're ready, your adrenaline's flying, but it's under control, and you're at your best. You always need that, but the out-and-out abstract fear has to be controlled, has to be understood to be controlled. I'm going to tell a story for the young aspiring fighter, so if you feel this way, you understand the most important part of this, and why I'm giving this talk, that it's normal. You just have to learn to control. You have to learn the most important. People say, Teddy, what's the most important thing for a fighter? To be disciplined. You hear that word all the time. Yeah, it's very important. Fast, strong. No. The most important thing is that you strive for is to learn to be calm in an uncalm environment. Yeah. Like a fireman. To be a fireman, what's the most important thing? To know how to hook up the hose to the water? That's kind of important, but I think we all know how to do that. The most important thing is how to live with the fire. How to live within a hot environment, a fiery environment, a dangerous environment, and not get burned up, obviously. But how to live in that, not panic. That's the most important thing for a fighter. How to live in that environment. So they can see what they have to, what other people would never see. You go in there and you don't see anything because the environment's overtaking you. Everything's a blur. You can't see. To get calm enough where, because used to say, Teddy, get your fighter calm enough to the point where you can see not one way to hit the guy, but 10 ways to hit the guy with the same punch. Wow. That's what we strive for. To get to that place. To get to that level where you're that calm. In that environment. In that uncomfortable environment. Where you can do that. Where you can think clearly. In a place where it's hard to think clearly. To get to that. To get to that place. Here's a story for the young aspiring fighters out there that, haven't been to that place yet. But they feel all the feelings of being nervous about getting to that place. You should be. It's normal. It means you're ready. It means you're thinking right? It means that you're healthy. You're not crazy. Because Tomato used to say, Teddy, anyone who says they're not afraid, right? Again, when you get more experience, you control it. And you live with it, and you're comfortable in an uncomfortable environment. But anyone who says they're not afraid, you're one of two things. You're a liar, or there's something wrong with you. You should go to a doctor, find out immediately what's the matter. What's missing? Because something's missing. Something's wrong. All right, so we got that straight. So I'm going to tell you a story about this fighter. He was a young fighter. Real story, of course. And it's happened many times, but I'm talking about one specific situation. But you can imagine, if it happened once, it happened more than once. And if it didn't happen this way, it happened other ways. So he's in the locker room before his first fight. And I'm so sorry. He's in the locker room before his first fight, and he's going through all these magnifications, all these changes. A while ago, he was coming out of the Rocky movie, and he was throwing punches, and he wanted to be champ of the world, right, and everything else. And now After all the training, everything else, he's in the locker room, and it's real. It's about to happen. And the ninjas are coming over the wall, the imagination. And he starts thinking about getting, you people are going to be surprised, but this is real. This is real. This is the real world. And if you understand this, you have a better chance of conquering it, moving forward, overcoming it, dealing with it, understanding when it comes to your neighborhood, so to speak. He started thinking, how can I get out of this? So he started thinking that maybe somehow, if I send out thoughts, maybe somehow a fire could start in the arena. I don't want no one to get hurt. He makes like a deal. I don't want to, with whoever, I don't want no one to get hurt. But if a fire could start just to get smoke in the arena, send off the sprinklers and basically cancel the night, cancel the event, cancel his fight. He's thinking about that. And he's thinking about all that stuff. He's thinking, when he gets past that, he's thinking about what train, because the fight was actually an amateur fight up in the Bronx. So obviously I know what fight I'm thinking of in person. I'm talking about, but it's a fight up in the Bronx, and he's thinking about what train, if he could get out the side door before anybody noticed, what train he would go to get home. He's thinking, imagine this, escape routes, parachutes, escape clauses, right? You know, not supposed to be thinking this stuff, right? We're human. It happens. This is part of how you become a fighter. Part of what you got to go through. Part of what sometimes you have to go through and deal with and overcome. So he's thinking about that. He's thinking about, just maybe somehow, something else happened along those lines. And he's thinking and so much dying internally inside him and then finally the knock comes on the door. The knock comes to the door. And it's the guy running the event. If it was a pro fighter, it'd be called the promoter. But it's the guy in charge of telling you to make sure your robe's on, make sure you're gloved up, you're next. And the knock comes on the door. You're next! You're next! And his heart drops even further. It already had dropped, but it drops even further. And he's like, he feels like he's going to die. He feels like the electric chair's waiting for him, like I said earlier. And, but there's one other thing though. He's still there. He didn't get on the subway. The fire didn't break out. He didn't go in the bathroom and start a fire. I guess he thought, he forgot about that. He's still there. He's still there. Think about that. He's still there. So anyway, they knock on the door. You're next! So, they get him gloved up. They put the rope on him, put the Vaseline on him. Loosen up, let's go. Getting ready to go. All of a sudden, just before they leave the room to go and face all these things that were killing him, scaring him to death, making him think about arson or something like that. All of a sudden, the door opens up, and the guy who knocked on the door and said, come, get ready. Now he comes in again, and he's pissed. And he says, damn it! All right, fight's off. What? Fight's off. The other guy didn't show up. The other guy never got there. The other guy never came. Never showed up. But you showed up. That's the key. There's hope for you. And there's a reminder to you. That guy was feeling the same way as you did. And you were the night before. When the ninjas were coming over the wall and everything else that I just talked about. He was feeling the same way. He gave into it. You didn't give into it. As scared as you were, as nervous as you were. You were going to go and face the music. You were going to go and do what you had to do. And then build off of that. And become better. And better. And better. That's an important story. Everyone feels the same. Especially at the beginning. Everyone's scared. Everybody's unsure. But you learn. You learn to control it. You get better. You get more confidence. You steadily grow. And you become comfortable in an uncomfortable environment. You might even become great in an environment that becomes comfortable for you because of all the things you faced. all the things you learned, all the things you were willing to deal with. Because of the code I talked about with these great samurai that you eventually, to some degree, committed to. The code of conduct. The code of behavior. It can be called bravery. But where'd it come from? You didn't just go buy it in the store. You earned it. You developed it. You seeked it out. You found it. Good luck.